Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Chinnery, and I'm coming to you from Cornell Cooperative Extension here in Rensselaer County, New York. And we're very glad to have you here on another one of our Lunch in the Garden Zoom webinars for 2026. We have some more of these coming up in April, which we'll be sending you notices about. And I hope you can join us for those. We've been doing these little webinars since the pandemic, so we've got a lot of practice in it, and we've had a lot of good programs. So we're glad to have you joining us here today. If you have any questions for our speaker, Rob Younkins, please type them in the chat box, and then we'll look at those after when we tend to finish at the end. So I always I should write this down. I should have a spiel about what I should say in the beginning, but of course I always forget that. But we're very excited to have a very different kind of program here today. We're usually looking at PowerPoint, but today we have a live sort of visit with Rob Younkins, who's down in North Carolina, and he's going to tell us about his indoor mushroom growing business. And Rob is the son of one of our master gardeners, Ellen Schoonover. So we have an in with Rob, and we're going to be very interested to see what he's got. So he's going to show us things as they're growing. And this is a subject I know nothing about. So Rob, we're all ears. We're here to learn. So thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here. Thank you, David. Thank you, Marcy. And hello, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of start by telling you the story of how I got into this, how our farm came to be, a little bit of a show and tell kind of guided tour through our production process, and then take all the questions you got. Um, I started with agriculture. I grew up in Kinderhook, New York. And we were down in the middle of the woods there. There's not much. It's a little farm town. But when I was a teenager, I started volunteering and ended up working at the Hancock Shaker Village, which is over in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Um, my brother and my grandmother were there as tour guides, interpreters, as they called them. I worked on the farm crew, so we did everything at that historical farm as if it were the late 1800s. And without knowing it, I was learning regenerative farming practices at the time. At 18, I joined the Marine Corps and went overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan for, too long. I did 7 tours over 8 years. I was just gone, gone, gone. I lost touch with the land is the point. And then a little bit later, military contracting landed me in Hawaii, and I really got back in touch with the land there because everything grows in Hawaii. So it was really, fish in a barrel out there. Nowadays, I have a wife and 3 kids. We have a little family farm and homestead here in Wilmington, North Carolina, and yeah, 2.4 acres, mostly perennials in my garden, but I do have a little bit of annual bed and some herbs. But or mushroom farming is the only thing I take to market, so it's my only cash crop. And I got into it. This is our 3rd year. I actually started in Pennsylvania in Kutztown area, if you're familiar with it. Not too far. It's Amish country. It's good place to learn. And the Rodale Institute was kind enough to take a handful of us veterans and teach us how to farm, the business side of it. And while I was in that program during the day, nights and weekends, I was doing my own mushroom farm with one other attendee there. So it started up in Pennsylvania 3 years ago, and this is our 2nd year in North Carolina. We grow wood-loving mushrooms. So if you're a newbie to mushrooms, they're, decomposers, and we all know that in our ecosystems as gardeners are super important in the soil, especially those mycelial networks. But some are more soil-loving, like your wine caps, and some are more wood-loving. So everything we do in our grow, all the strains that we grow are all wood loving. So we simulate a dead tree with some blocks. Let me grab one right now. I'll show you. This is an Italian oyster block. And yes, unfortunately, it is plastic. They are biodegradable, but there's one of the necessary evils for growing indoors. But this is, if you can see this dark area that's not colonized, that's the substrate we use to simulate a dead tree, as mushrooms would like to grow in the woods. And this white area is all colonized. So that's our mycelia. And because it's a clear plastic bag, you can see it and you can see the borderline where they're still working on colonizing the whole bag. And this is one of the earlier phases of our kind of the middle phase of our production process. I wait for this Italian oyster organism, really, it's mycelia, taking over. And once they've colonized the full bag, I'll know that it's ready to go into the chamber. So the actual fruiting, the mushroom part comes at the very end. It's the last step of the production process, but that doesn't come until basically this colonization process is over and it's a mature organism, right? And it's ready to reproduce because the fruiting bodies that we all eat, um, and we call mushrooms, that is the reproductive organ, and that's how they're asexually reproducing, dropping spores out of their caps. So I guess I'll start with our humidity chamber here. And I'm on a laptop, so I'm going to try to get nice and close here. This is what it looks like inside. It's got a home-built humidifier system over there that pumps in mist, circulates it. And I also have air exchange in here, temperature control, and definitely keep it very, very clean in here. But we've got some mature blocks that are ready to harvest. These are blue oyster mushrooms. You can see once that's fully colonized, I just cut slits in the bag and they'll chase the oxygen because they're looking for the oxygen to reproduce. And these guys are about to pitch spores. So I've got to get them harvested and boxed up for customers before they make a mess in my chamber.
Wow. And
Um,
how long did that take, Rob?
well, uh, from the date I mixed spores into the substrate to the date it went into the chamber and I cut a slit, that's 2 weeks for blue
Okay.
oyster. And then for this to come out, that'd be about 6 days. 6 days to produce this.
Wow. Pretty neat.
And you get to watch them like in a 24-hour period, they can double in size, up to their maximum limit. Um, but yeah, these guys are ready to go. So I'll either snip them or take a big bunch, box them up. If it's chefs, and we sell wholesale to chefs and retail locations, and we sell retail at farmers markets. So I'll either box them up or put them in a bin for the chefs, and yeah, move product that way. But it's a pretty repeatable process. Consistent yields with these varieties of mushrooms that we grow. These are blue oyster. Down over on the bottom, we've got pink oyster over here, right there, Italian oyster, and then on the behind me here, we've got Maitake, also known as chick of the woods or hen of the woods, and then reishi down on the bottom shelf down there.
Wow.
So it's a mix of culinary and medicinal mushrooms.
Hmm. Now, well, can you get another crop out of that bag, or is that it for that one?
No, great call. Yes. You can get 3 flushes if conditions are ideal. Usually we don't push it past 2 flushes, and then this is what we call a flush, a big pocket of mushrooms like that. So I'll break this off, clean up any remainder so it doesn't rot there on the bag and then causes contamination. So I'll break that off, note it here when the first harvest was, what date, and then about 2 weeks later we'll get a second flush. We'll
Hmm.
harvest that, and then just precautionary measure, we'll toss the block. And this actually, we try to, we are a regenerative farm to the maximum extent that we can. I take the substrate here, which is rich with carbon and nitrogen because of the mycelia, and this gets composted back into my soil on the homestead.
Cool. Cool. And does that second flush come out of that same part of the bag there?
It does.
Yeah.
Now, they are little rascals, so they'll try to grow out of the original. You see that filter patch? So while they're colonizing the block, that's how they breathe. The air exchange goes through that little patch because the rest of
Hmm.
it's plastic, it's sealed. And yeah, they will try to sneak out there, but if they get out of the top or if you nick the bag at some point, they'll seek the oxygen, and that's a no-go. You want to control where they're coming out because that's when contamination will start to get in, and Once that takes over your tent, you got to clean the whole darn thing.
Oh boy. Huh. Well, pretty neat.
Yeah. So they have different personalities. About one more block of lion's mane. You guys are kind of pooping out. See right there, that's a little bit of baby lion's mane coming out.
Oh,
And then
wow.
eventually it'll get the teeth, kind of the beard looking teeth hanging down, and the spores coming out of there. It's kind of an alien looking mushroom. And then some like to fruit up top, like these Maitake right here. So we just let them come up the top, and then I'll snip this bag open, and they'll flush out the top. Um, if anybody knows Chick of the Woods, it's kind of like a fan shaped,
Hmm.
beautiful mushroom.
So you're harvesting them before they make spores. So that's how
Ideally,
somebody just wrote in, how do you know when to harvest it? But so you have to learn how to judge when it's mature but not making the spores yet.
yeah. I can do a little comparison side by side.
Yeah.
So this flush of blue oyster is a little bit small, right? And people do harvest them small because they store a little bit better for shelf life. And some people just like smaller bite-sized mushrooms. They're a little bit early. These guys are probably a couple hours late. You can see
Mm.
how the cap has kind of really what they're doing is they're chasing the oxygen upward, and
Hmm.
that cap instead of being flat is kind of like a funnel shape.
Wow.
See
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So they're telling you they're rearing up, getting ready to spore out right now and
Mm.
reproduce. And so that's a dead giveaway for at least for these oysters that it's time to go. Um, but yeah, you can harvest them early if it's easier to fit in your packaging containers, or if certain customers like them that way. They're just as tasty, but you're gonna stunt like you're gonna limit yourself on total yield from the block if you harvest them too small.
Right. Right. And are the bigger ones worth more money then?
I mean, it's more poundage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for wholesale, it matters. For retail, we go by volume. I fill up boxes, uh, and it's anywhere from like a third of a pound to a half a pound in the box.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, and they have different. You just got to know your varieties. Like these Maitake will take 3 months, sometimes two, to colonize and start pinning. Pinning is the initial stage where you start to see these little tiny mushroom heads form. They're,
Hmm.
the size like the size of a pin, and then they just take off as long as the conditions are right. We also sell these as grow kits, so it's a fully colonized block ready to go and a set of instructions so people can take them home and do it on their countertop and just make that slit. Use a little spray bottle with distilled water, keep them moist, keep the temperature and the airflow right. And if they nail those conditions, then they'll get more bang for their buck that way because they'll get multiple flushes at home.
Oh, so if you're making up a block like that, how do you keep it? You could keep that from going to the next stage just by the conditions you give it. You can kind of
Yes, you
hold it.
can.
Yeah.
So once it's fully colonized, you're right. Like especially these oysters, they will try to pin inside the bag, and then you'll
Mm.
just have a mess on your hands. So you can put them in the walk-in cooler and keep them on chill, and that'll extend the shelf life. So yeah, conditions are the key for an indoor grow.
So you're always managing something.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a lot of plates up in the air or balls up in the air.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Having some organizational skills definitely pays off.
Yes, I would think so. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I see a chat here from Patricia. Lights in the chamber are just for humans. That's a great question. It definitely helps us see, but you can see the interior of the tent is reflective. These tents, I think, are made for like marijuana grows at home,
Mm.
but
Okay.
we
Yeah.
we use them and we use this grow light. Um, because these mushrooms actually do, like if you can see the kind of blue hue going on right here, that is pigment that's formed by interaction, vitamin D production, just interacting with light. So for most of the mushrooms, if you want that color, the rich color that customers want to see, you got to get them exposed to light. And you can bombard them. You can keep that on 24/7. Some growers say they like a natural life cycle and, daytime lights on, nighttime off, so you set it on a timer. For some mushrooms like the lion's mane, it doesn't have any pigment, so it really doesn't matter. They could be 100% dark, they could be 100% light, 24/7. Doesn't really matter because they're just staying white.
Mhm. Okay. And somebody asked about the harvesting of the lion's mane. Do you have to wait until the teeth show?
Yep. Good rule of thumb is wait till those teeth are a quarter inch long or more, and
Huh.
then you're good to go.
Okay. Well, some of our audience obviously knows a little bit about what you're talking about here because they're asking some good questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Critical questions. Um, Yeah, and we've settled on seasonality as well with our variety selection. We just put our first pink oysters in of the year because they are more warm weather loving. They can tolerate up to like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas some like the Maitake, they're all left over from, we'll discontinue them after this succession because they like the cool. They really like it cool, and they won't grow. They'll be stunted. They'll be little babies, and they get super contamined if it starts getting above like 75 degrees.
Hmm. So is your environment there, you're controlling humidity. Are you controlling temperature too with
Yeah,
air
just
conditioning or whatever?
through climate control. Yeah, air
Yeah.
conditioning.
Okay. Okay. That's wild. Let's see. Please share the attributes and use of the different mushrooms. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a gourmand in any way. So these must have different flavors and different uses, right? In the culinary sense.
They do, and then half the job of going to farmers markets is just educating folks before they buy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, each let's start with the lion's mane because a lot of this is probably the one that most people have heard of these days. Um, the raw form, well, no, you're not going to eat it raw. You always cook it before you eat it, because all of them, all the varieties are bioavailable. You can't really digest the chitins and the compounds that make them up in their raw form. So you want to cook them so that you can actually get the nutrients. Lion's mane is recent studies have shown in the last decade or so that it actually helps you regenerate neurons
Hmm.
and it's got cognitive support. Most people encounter lion's mane, unless you're like a forager, that it does happen. You find it out in the woods, big old clusters of them. But most people encounter lion's mane through dehydrated powders or pills. Um, and that's good. You still get lots of the compounds, but if you eat them fresh, from your local mushroom grower, that's when the compounds, the antioxidants, everything is more bioavailable that way.
Oh,
Dehydration process, you just lose a lot of that.
yeah, yeah.
This one, it doesn't have the teeth right now, but a lot of people will make like a crab cake out of
Mm.
them instead of using the crab in your crab cake, and that's delicious. Obviously, it's fried. I like to just take you can just pull them apart, pull off little clusters, throw them in with my eggs. But I'm a lazy cook, so maybe Becky, if you're not, you want to get a little more complex. Like my wife is a good cook and she loves mushrooms, so she'll take oysters like this and she'll just kind of dice them up or slice them up and put them in sauce or soups. Uh, Oysters, these are blue oysters. Um, they are high protein. They're a very aggressive strain. So are the
Mhm.
pink oysters. All the oysters really aggressive, and yeah, they're high protein, high fiber, and they do have some vitamins and minerals in them as well. So a lot of time, I don't know if anybody in here is a vegan, but a lot of vegans go for mushrooms because they don't eat meat. They're looking for a way to get their protein in their diet. and gourmet mushrooms are a really, dense mushroom or a dense protein source. Um, your maitake, we don't have any that are ready for harvest yet, but and it's hard to see through the bag. Maybe you can see through this one a little bit better. See that fan shape that's starting to form right
Oh yeah,
there?
look at that. Wow.
It'll be like a nice, it'll look like a turkey tail kind of thing. It's not an actual turkey tail, but
Mm.
um, yeah, those ones are kind of nutty, peppery. They hold up really well in stews, so that's the way my wife will cook them. Also high protein and vitamins. And then these guys, the reishi, these ones are not culinary, they are medicinal. So these ones you would uh, let them get to the point of maturation, harvest, put them in a grinder, or dry them out, put them in the grinder, and then you put them in a tea or a capsule and ingest them that way.
Wow. Neat. Very interesting.
Super geeky, but what are you gonna do?
Pat says the white button mushrooms from supermarkets can be eaten raw as well as cooked. Why not these?
You can eat them raw, but you may get some gastric distress
Uh,
from doing it.
are those
Um,
common? I'm those button mushrooms. That's the big mushroom production mushroom, right? That's from like Kennett Square, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Candace Square is a hotbed, for all mycologists and mushroom producers. The white button mushrooms, if we're talking about the same ones, the common ones, those
Mm,
are soil loving. So they're grown in giant mushroom farm operations, um, and on big trays or beds of soil of poop, and they'll harvest those. They make a secondary product out of the soil that they grew in because the soil is spent for mushrooms, but
hmm.
it's got the mycelia in it, and it's great for addition to your garden.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing for these ones. These wood-loving guys, the substrate blocks are great for soil amendments. There's hardwood pellets in here, so it's going to have a lot of carbon in it, but these do take a little bit longer to break down than the mushroom compost you'll find at the hardware store. So yeah, to answer Pat's question, you can eat them raw. Some people have no problem. It just messes me up right away. So I always recommend, and for food safety, always recommend for my customers to cook them.
Right, right. So you could potentially have a side business of making garden amendment soil, and then that could be another part of your farm, right? If you wanted to do that.
Yep, that's our revenue stream target for this year.
Okay.
Is we want to step those up, and honestly, the place we've had most success is just Facebook Marketplace for that. There's gardener groups in your local area. Maybe there's a mushroom producer in your local area, like myself, and you can just link up with them. I mean, they call it what in business they call it monetizing your sawdust or something like
Ah.
that. So it's a byproduct and it's viable, so might as well package it.
Right, right. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Optimizing each part of the business, and like you said, there's really no waste in a sense, because you can really reuse that. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I would love to grow in like mason jars and other glass and ceramics because then I wouldn't even have the plastic bags to deal with.
Mhm.
That's our only source of waste right now is the plastic bags.
Okay, okay. So your mom is chiming in here,
Oh,
and she says maybe talk a bit about the master's mix and your inoculation process.
okay, cool. I will try to keep it non-geeky. Master's Mix
We
is
like the geeky part.
oh, okay, cool. Well, hopefully everybody's not spitting up their salad. Um, so Master's Mix. Let me get a block that we just mixed up.
I'm kind of wondering how he ever goes on vacation because he's got to keep an eye on these guys all the time. So we'll have to ask him that too.
Oh, what was the question?
Oh, I was just mumbling that I was wondering how you ever go on vacation because how do you ever shut down all the process? You know,
Yeah, travel is hard.
it's sort of like a dairy farmer.
Yeah, I have one employee, great guy, mushroom experience, and so he covers for me when I'm out of town, luckily.
Okay.
And my wife also if I'm out of town solo. Um, Master's Mix is a specific ratio of your ingredients in the substrate. So the substrate again is simulating a dead tree, but instead of just hardwood pellets, which let me wheel you guys around here, you can see the rest of the garage. These big bags of wood pellets are normally for home heating,
Oh,
these 40
huh.
pound bags.
Yeah.
So yeah, some people have like a pellet fuel heater, um, and it's all hardwood. So exactly what your mushrooms like, and they're already it's sawdust, but it's compacted into little pellets. So we take that. We also take these soy hulls. You see that, which are normally for like deworming your horses.
Oh,
Mix them up in the ideal ratio in one of these plastic bags, add some water, and then mix it all up. That goes in a steam barrel, which I could show you in a minute here, for 20 hours at 200 degrees.
wow.
Gets rid of all the contaminants, and it also prepares the substrate for to be tasty for the mushrooms and fresh and broken down so that they can just eat it
Hmm.
without any competition from mold spores or anything like that. And that's when they start colonizing. So these guys went in on Sunday. I'm sorry, no, yesterday. And we took that freshly cooked substrate, that medium, and we added the spores. Our most stable source of the mushroom spores is something called grain spawn.
Hmm.
So we use either rye or millet grain that's been dried. And then you cook that and get rid of the contam, soften it up for the mushrooms, and add spores there either with liquid or a petri dish. You can even buy them, the grain spawn already colonized online from larger mushroom producers. And we take that in the clean room over here, which is just for us a smaller 5x5 grow tent. And this is a homemade laminar flow hood right there on the.
Wow. Pretty wild.
Yeah, so yeah, MacGyver style.
Hmm.
But yeah, it works great and it keeps that field right in front of that white square. It keeps it laminar flow means it's straight, right? It's not turbulent. So anything that would be in the air, any single mold spore, it's pushing it out of the way. So you work in that little zone, add your spores to the substrate block right there, and then seal it along the top with the impact sealer.
Okay.
And
And
then
your
go ahead.
contaminants are going to be what? Other fungi mostly? Or not bacteria, but
Yeah, right. It's other fungi species.
okay.
So trichoderma, brown plaster mold.
Huh.
So there are some usual suspects.
Yeah. Would they be
Contaminants.
things like you'd find in a building or like in a landscape? Just kind of those kind of molds, I guess.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Hmm.
They're on our skin.
Huh.
So before you do the clean room work, total shower, fresh clothes,
Yeah.
mask, gloves, the whole
Wow.
9 yards.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little process. Once you get used to it, it's like anything.
Uh-huh. Very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, to satiate my mother, Master's Mix technically refers to a 50-50 mix of those soy hulls and the wood pellets by weight. That is so. The wood pellets, the hardwood, is your source of carbon, and the soy hulls that we add are a source of nitrogen. That the soy hull component doesn't really exist in a dead tree unless it's been decomposing
Mm.
and there's been nitrogen produced in there. So we don't go 50-50. True Masters mix is 50-50. What we do is what's called supplemented sawdust. So ours is 25% soy hulls, 75% the hardwood pellets. So it's higher carbon and then some extra nutrition with the nitrogen in the soy hulls. Um, so yeah, that anywhere from 20 to 30 is good for the strains that we grow. We do have a strain called Shiitake, most people have heard of, that instead of soy hulls, we use wheat bran because it just prefers that as a food source.
Mm.
We mix that in with the hardwood pellets. But aside from the base ingredient, it's the same process. We cook it for 20 hours and then take it to the clean room for mixing, and then it's off to the races.
Cool, cool. And the hardwood doesn't have to be oak or maple. It can be just hardwood.
It can. I've learned by trial and error, oak is the favorite. So if you can
Okay.
find pure oak pellets or sawdust, go for it. They do love it. I've also got like a Traeger grill, like a pellet smoker grill.
Hmm.
So for that, for smoking your food, it's like mesquite, pecan, apple, cherry, some of these like premium hardwoods. I've actually tried to use those pellets because it's almost the exact same thing. I've used those for the mushrooms. They did not like it. So, you
Huh.
know, just go with what they like.
Right, right, right. Yeah, somebody asked that question. I thought that was an interesting question too.
Mm.
Okay. Uh, let's see. Oh, they were asking about how do you get started? Describe a starter system. Like, where did you initially buy your spores? You bought your spores from some source, right?
Correct. My favorite is Field and Forest. They're out of Peshtigo, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
Just awesome dudes. They started small and scaled up. But you can get the owner on the phone whenever you need to, producer to producer, and he'll tell you, how he navigated problem X or what the best, source in your state that he's well networked. So he's a great resource. Um, and yeah, as far as starting out, like that's how I'd frame it that way is like, which portion of the production process is going to be most advantageous and make the most business sense for you to start with? For most people, it's going to be that. It's going to be ordering your spores, even ordering your grain spawn from somebody who, takes care of all that labor for you and as well as time, turnaround time. And then you take it from the mixing point
Hmm.
in the clean room to the fruiting and product delivery phase of kind of your production cycle. Um, that's probably the sweet spot where a small grower like myself is best poised, especially if you have no experience. Um, it's the least what should I say? Um, the point where the least chaos can come in because the mycelia are already established in the grain spawn.
Uh-huh.
The worst contamination happens early on when you're trying to like save your spores, harvest your spores. Um, so yeah, um, that's the most precarious part. I'd say outsource that to a more mature grower until you have the equipment, the time, and the know-how to handle those earlier parts of your production process.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
I think she said, who was it? Oh yeah, Marie and Bob. So a starter system with requirements for humidity and where to obtain starter systems. Um, yeah, there's if you go to like Field and Forest or North Spore, those are a couple big mushroom producers. They also have links to buy your kit.
Hmm.
So I am a big fan of what we got here, just the grow tents. You don't need much more than that as long as the space around the tents can be climate controlled and relatively clean. Um, I would say definitely get yourself a HEPA filter if you can see it up there, that blue thing.
Oh, yeah.
That is essential for your humidity chamber. You're going to need that laminar flow hood. You can buy them or you can make one. That one cost me under 100 bucks, the one in the clean room. You're going to need a humidifier, which again, you can DIY it. You can see that the tote over here. I did some surgery on it. Let me try to get you closer. It's got an intake hose right there that you can see. And it's got a float valve on the inside. Let me know if I'm not looking at the screen, so I'm just going to try to,
Yeah, we could see that. Yep, yep.
if you can see there's a UV light in there.
Oh my gosh. Huh.
And then you could spy that little mister. It's like a disc that with a float. And when the system kicks on, based off of a sensor, that produces mist. This fan is a waterproof fan. It kicks on at the same time and pushes it up the PVC down over into the grow tent. And then from inside, you can see I made these PVC with little holes slit in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it comes in from that top corner where I was showing you on the outside, comes down and then bridges out via PVC with these drilled holes, and it'll just kind of cascade and rain down from the top of the wall onto your mushrooms.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So you have to be a bit of an engineer.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, in the Marine Corps, we just made things out of duct tape, so kind of used to
Good training for this sort of thing.
it. Yeah.
I'm very impressed that this is in your garage. I mean, it just is like incredible. Is it a two-car garage or how big is the garage?
This was actually a three car.
Okay.
Two of the bays are taken up by my wife's. She got inventory. She does like staging for furniture for vacant houses and stuff and art.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I got one bay to work with.
You got a lot going on in one car garage. I mean, this is just really impressive.
Thanks, brother.
So, and you don't have to answer this in any more detail than you want to, but Jean is asking, and Jean is a business person, so she's saying, what was your initial capital investment, time to break even, and return on investment? So she's looking at the dollars. And of course, a lot of new businesses, this is a tricky thing, right?
Big time. Yeah, and if like we bootstrapped with credit cards. I didn't go to the bank for a loan or anything. I'd say your break even's coming in about year two. If you really hustle, maybe more like 1 year mark. Um, but it totally depends on how you're gonna sell them. Like up in Pennsylvania, we could take our mushrooms to the auction at any point, but you get bottom dollar there.
Mm,
And then chefs, you're still gonna have to take a hit on price for wholesale, but you get the volume advantage. That's probably the sweet spot, I'd say, for most, because you don't have to deal with packaging for retail and stuff.
right, right.
And then you get your best price point going to farmers markets and selling retail to friends and family. Um, or if you have a little farm stand, you can sell them there. Uh, they the only issue is they need to be refrigerated
Mm.
in their final form, otherwise they'll start to decay. But in the fridge, I mean, they'll hold up for at least a week. Some strains more like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yep. So yeah, to Gene's point, initial capital investment, I'd say plan on at least 10K. Um, Probably more like 15 or 20 once you get all your stainless steel tables and the things you don't think
Right.
about when you're sitting down to plan a business, like
Yeah.
packaging and material. So uh, if you're hustling, and there's depending on your competition level and what the market likes, if there are people who will buy, Kennett Square is a saturated market because there's a lot of producers up there,
Right.
but there's
Right.
also a lot of interest. So if you can find your little niche, you can get really good price points. The margins are great, so that's the strongest thing about the business side of it. It's just finding that consistent demand and matching that with what you want to do. Like maybe you got a full-time job and you can't do farmers markets, so you're just kind of resigned to wholesale. You can still make a good business out of that.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you some insider information because I've heard from some of our growers, our farmers, that when you sell to chefs and restaurants, it's hard to get paid. Is that true? I've had them say, "Oh, I sell them to these fancy chefs here in the Hudson Valley, and they never pay you."
Yeah, they'll conveniently forget. Um, yeah, you got to find the right chef, right? So build the relationship first.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and this is not to disparage chefs out there, but there's quite a culture of uh, substance use among them, to be honest,
Mm,
just perfectly frank. So a lot of the times you don't even know who you're talking to one day to the next.
mm,
And there's a high turnover in that industry as well. So yeah, if you can find that gem who's going to consistently order from you, latch on to them and treat them well. Getting paid, don't just meet the chef, meet the manager as well,
mm.
whoever's cutting the checks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then so yeah, get two phone numbers. Yeah, I mean sometimes it's like herding cats. It's like dealing with kindergartners because they're inconsistent with their delivery frequency or order frequency. Um, and even then it's like they don't have a plan for where it's going to go and they're walking and stuff.
Mm.
Um, you just gotta, have patience and ride that dragon.
Yeah. Oh, I think a lot of agriculture faces that, right? You can learn how to produce your crop, whatever that is, whether it's cut flowers or it's bedding plants or it's pumpkins or it's, milk. But the marketing is the hard part. And then, you know, getting it through the marketing channels and making the money back is a real challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say it all, just doing this a couple of years, it's all based on relationships. Whether that's a one-off customer or, your return customers, like just build the relationship first and that'll pay you. Uh, I'd say what gravitated me towards this. I told you like I was able to start it in Pennsylvania. I was going through a veteran program for farming. It was something I could do on nights and weekends, but we also in that first year we did the indoor thing, but we also tried outdoor mushroom production, which a lot of
Mm,
people have probably heard of.
right.
There's so many more variables to contend with that hinder consistency of yield. Outside. There's fungus gnats, there's fungus beetles. There's the whole world full of mold and bacteria. Bacteria is
Yeah.
your enemy. Once they're in this form, it's bacteria that's going to mess you up.
Mm,
Um, so getting food safe product that you can put your quality stamp on, you feel good about selling. It's so much harder outdoors unless you have like big wooded area and it's the right conditions out there, and then you're seasonally spring and fall, you can grow on logs, especially like shiitake. People can make a good living off of that. But yeah, indoors, you don't have to contend with any of that. You do have to, bite the bullet and pay a little bit more on the energy bills and the water bill, but I think it's totally worth it for eliminating those headaches.
right, right. We have one final question there. And this is kind of a big one, I guess. Can you talk us through a typical day? What does a day look like for an indoor mushroom farmer?
Okay. Hey, Rondi. Um, again, organizational skills. Have your production schedule mapped out, and you kind of do in the military we call it backwards planning. So whenever the execution date is of an operation, you just start to backwards plan on your timeline for what needs to happen at certain milestones before that. So the production schedule is really just that, and it just depends on where you are in that schedule. So we have a high season here that's spring through fall, and then our winters are very low production. We kind of ramp ramp down production for the slow months. One, because um, it's a little bit too cold for a lot of these mushrooms, and I'm not gonna, heat. But two, we are a very seasonal tourist area.
Okay.
Wilmington, North Carolina, we have a lot of people from Raleigh and Charlotte, even Asheville, migrate out here for, a weekend or a week to come hang out at the beach.
Right, right.
That's when the chefs are getting, more butts in seats at their restaurants, and thus they're ordering more from us. The farmers markets are happening in that time. So w winter time is nice and chill. Spring and fall are our peak seasons. So a typical day is probably, I'd average it for the week, average day, 2 hours a day. It's not terrible. But it looks like, one day I'll go in for 30 minutes and I'll harvest 6 blocks worth of mushrooms, box them up, put them in the cold storage. And then another day, I'll have to make all the master's mix, load up the barrel, cook that. And that's more like a 4 or 5 hour day. So yeah, on balance, I'd say like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so once you kind of know how to do what you're doing, I like the backwards planning. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
And each block, the saying is what? Every day, one set of eyes, one pair of hands, or something like that. Whatever they use in what was it? I think cannabis production they say that, but it's true. Like contamination could pop up in one of these bags at any time. So you
right.
just get used to a farm walk, meaning look at every bag once a day and just inspect it. Um, because you can't take anything for granted. And if contamination gets in to your grow, it's really hard to get it out. So you got to like stamp it out as soon as it shows up.
Yeah, yeah. We call that integrated pest management,
Yeah, okay.
IPM.
That's
So
right.
our master gardeners know all about that because I yammer on about it all the time. So, so that's good. So does anybody else, if anybody else has any other questions, you could type them in the chat now. How do you know when it's contaminated? Is it visual?
Almost always visual. Yeah. I'd say you can tell like lion's mane. You can have contam in there in the later flushes, like second or third flush on a lion's
Mm.
mane block, and you won't be able to see it until you go to harvest it. It'll be saturated. It'll be like dripping wet.
Oh boy.
And that's just a sign that the organism, and they do have immune systems. So they're fighting something off. And the way they do that, I'm not a scientist, but they secrete um, not enzymes, something like enzymes, right? It's like it's how they
Yeah,
digest, right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's just saturated with it. So I'd say 5% of the time you can feel the 10% of the time visual.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So is there anything else you'd want to share with us? We're kind of coming up to almost an hour.
Yeah, if you guys are ever in Wilmington, North Carolina, come check us out. I'll walk you through the grow, and you can help me work if you want.
But we have to be clean ourselves, right?
Yeah, I got a
Gardeners are
shower.
sometimes a little rough around the edges.
That's right. Yeah, get the dirt out of your fingernails. Yeah.
And the name of your business is what? Tell us again.
Sovereign Farms.
Okay. And you have a website?
Yeah, it's sovereignfarms.net. Let me grab a card here. And I do have a little bit of an attitude, but it's
There
Sovereign
we go.
Farm.
All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. So we're getting a lot of folks saying thank you and they enjoyed your presentation. I think it's a really cool operation, and I really like the idea that you as one individual could start this because so many forms of agriculture nowadays take so much capital and more labor than just one or two people can do. And it's so prohibitive to be getting into. a part of a business, but this is something that you went and learned, and you can take those skills and then use them literally at your house to get started. So do you see yourself ever scaling up really and being a lot bigger?
Yeah, 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 I'm not in a rush to do it because right now I can do this part-time and it puts a little money in your pocket. You're not going to get rich, farming
Mm.
mushrooms, but I think that would probably come when the kids are a little bit older and they can help me out. A little bit of that cheap labor.
Or when the kids move out, you can take over their bedroom, right?
Look what I did. Yeah.
You can move out the bunk beds and move in the mushrooms.
I mean, that'll ensure that they don't come back and boomerang, right?
Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah. Well, I think this was really a neat thing for us to see because it's something I've never really seen myself, and we certainly appreciate your taking the time to show us.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah. So everybody's saying thank you, and we can visit your website, and we're going to see your mom sometime, so we can ask her more questions.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you pepper her.
Yeah, and if you're ever up this way, come stop by and say hello to us here in our office in East Greenbush.
I will. Yeah, I'll be up there, probably in a couple months.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. We